It's the ultimate pep talk as a mother. You have a baby and it's God's pep talk saying you can do hard things. I've
Mm.
designed you to do hard things, and I got you. And when you can't do it, there are people that will support you. So that
Mm.
just forever changed my life.
Welcome back to the Pain Free Birth Show. Today I'm interviewing Tommi Kirkpatrick, who has some incredible births to share with us today. She has had 6 children, 5 sons, and 1 daughter, and she has experienced birth in her 20s, 30s, and 40s, from a military hospital to a birthing center to a bathroom, and with her husband and while he was deployed. Tommi is a wife and has had a variety of journeys, and her story is just incredible. And she is going to encourage you to find your God given strength in pregnancy, birth, and beyond. So, Tommi, I'm so excited to hear your stories today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've been so excited. I've had this adrenaline rush all morning. So I'm glad we finally made it here.
I know. And we are starting, just for those of you who don't know, about 45 minutes late because I had an interview that ran over. And then as we are about to start, Tommi's computer died right when I said, let's pray first. So I
Yeah.
said, clearly the enemy does not want your story to be heard, but God does. And so
Mhm.
we are
Plus,
figuring it out.
it's the perfect segue lead in analogy to birth. Like you have everything, you have your plan, you think you're ready to go, and then there's curveball after curveball, and you just stay calm and pivot. So I feel like it was
Exactly.
good.
You go, okay, God, like I'm in this. We're
Yep.
gonna pivot. We're gonna have this baby. We're gonna have
Yep.
this interview one way or another. So she's on her iPhone, but we are getting this story to you, and I believe it is gonna be a good one. So, Tommi, tell us about your 6 births and what they
So,
taught you.
well, just that that's a question I'm being asked blows my mind because for most of my life, I didn't think I would be a mother. I didn't want to be a mother. I didn't have positive birth stories in my life. And I just would always say, no, I'm not strong enough to have kids. If I
Mm.
do, I want to be numb from the forehead down. That was my running joke. Like, I just didn't think I could ever do it. So, yes. When I met and fell in love with my husband, all that changed because I was like, I want to have his babies. Like, let's do this. So,
The good man will do that to you.
yes, and a Marine. So let's be honest, he's a
Oh
Marine.
yeah.
And so shortly after we married, I heard God speak to me. And I don't say that lightly because it was quite life changing. And he told me in a quiet moment in a crowded room, Tommi, you're going to have babies in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. And I
Wow.
laughed. I thought, there's no way. And I have ended up having babies in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. And so yes, I mean, I could talk for years about this topic, but I had my first baby, my son, when my husband Micah was deployed in Iraq. And so it was really wild to be preparing for a baby and a deployment to combat simultaneously. We had
Wow.
to plan a baby shower alongside a just in case funeral arrangements if my husband didn't make it back. So the headspace was, it was very intense. But that season, that first birth is what set me on a different path as a mom because I had one loving, caring friend as a mother who just gently asked me if I had considered birthing options. So I answered with my line, yeah, numb from the forehead down. And she started giving me information. And I could go on forever, but that just set me on a different path of birth is possible. It is possible that it can be pain free and it doesn't have to be scary. And because I experienced that first birth that way, I have other children. If it had been
Mm.
scary, painful, traumatic, it would be a one and done for me. I know it. And so that
Wow.
changed the whole course of our family. And there was a tribe of women who supported me in that season. My husband was in Iraq. And so all of these moms, we basically lived together. We stood in as the husband for all of each other's births, and we helped nurse each other's babies
Mm.
with bottles and slept over at night. We were a family. And so
Wow.
to have that be my first birth experience with a tribe of women who celebrate birth and just held me, it's the ultimate pep talk as a mother. You have a baby and it's God's pep talk saying you can do hard things. I've
Mm,
designed you to do hard things, and I got you. And when you can't do it, there are people that will support you. So that just
mm.
forever changed my life.
What an incredible thing to be able to give birth and mother and learn in a community, such a tight knit community of mothers like that. That's something that most moms don't get to experience in our modern day and age.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's just
And
incredible,
the
even as hard as military birth is. But
Oh, it was brutal. And Karen, we were up against what I would call a puppy mill in the military hospital. So, we're all young moms. We have zero clue what's going on. So they would find a reason for C-sections. We were in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And I witnessed it firsthand for friends, no birth complications. And then suddenly, emergency C-section, panic, fear, scared, and you've lost your power. And so there was this one, I will sing her praises till my dying breath, one covert midwife, I like to call her, who had done home
mm,
births for her career, but she worked in the military hospital to save moms like me. And women knew about her and would request her care, and she worked within the military hospital to protect me, to the point where she
mm.
risked her career and walked from that. But she made sure I had a safe, empowered birth in the military hospital, hands down.
What was it like having your firstborn while your husband was in Iraq?
Yeah, it was every emotion you can imagine. It was sad that he wasn't there. Um, and yet, at the same time, to have this village of women really, really changed something for me. But I would say that physical birth was so awesome, that as soon as he was born, my first words were, "Oh, I want to do that again." And I thought, what is happening? This is crazy. This is not what I thought birth was. But that really is what changed it for me. That as soon
Wow.
as my husband came home, when my baby was 3 months old, we immediately conceived our second son. So they're 13 months apart. We
Oh
found
my
our
gosh.
wonderful midwife who had just worked covert in the hospital and said, "Okay, we want to do this again, but this time at our house." And so that was our first home birth in our house.
Wow. And how did that one go? What was that like? That's
Okay,
very
so
close together too.
very close together. When you're young and a little naive, like I'm powered on love and youth. And so it
And
was
my
like,
husband's home from war. Let's
and
go,
my
baby.
husband's home. Like, what? This is amazing. So yeah, and I was like all in at this point, home birth. But what happened was I worked so hard on being relaxed during that labor that things kind of slowed down for a hot minute. And so I call them my hippie midwives. They were at the house and we were getting ready. My poor husband's never experienced this yet, and he's filling up a tub, and there's crock pots filled with warm water and a ducky thermometer floating in the tub, and it's like, what is happening? So I was so just in my zone that labor wasn't progressing. And looking back now, I realized I didn't really know I could be a participant in labor. I was just letting this thing happen to me like a passive, part of it. And
Mhm.
so things just kind of slowed down, went through the night. My
You
hippie
relax
midwife,
too hard. I
so
love it.
relaxed, so relaxed.
Especially the tub. I feel like if you get in that birth tub too early, it really will slow your labor down.
Yes, yes, it does. It does. And so when I finally was able to get out, I stood in the backyard. We did nipple stim, we did walking lunges, and my wonderful midwife said, "Honey, you either poop or get off the pot." And I thought, okay, I don't know what that means, but let's do that. And so
What does that mean? What did you
she was
do?
basically saying it's time to stop relaxing. It's time to kick this into gear. Like, let's
Okay,
get
like
moving. So
get moving, get this baby
yes,
down.
get
Yeah.
out of the tub, go outside, sway your hips, walk, lunge, do the things.
Yep.
And that really did move things into gear. So my second son was born like a roaring lion in the water with my husband there. And it was magical, magical. And I feel like our kids' births kind of give a foreshadowing of who they are. And so my second
Totally.
born, right? It's true. It's just how it works. And so
Totally.
that was our heads up that this kid's going to maybe take a little bit longer, but when he shows up, watch out, world. And so
Yep.
that was my birth with him.
Can confirm.
Yes.
I want to hear your stories, ladies who are listening. If do your kids' burst reflect their personalities? Write in, DM me, and let us know. I'll share it. Awesome. Now tell us so that was your second. You've got two babies now, 13 months apart. What was your third and
What
fourth
happened
like?
then?
Yeah. I mean,
I
does it get
know.
better?
I know. It gets interesting.
Interesting.
But
Yes.
my third was a year and a half later. We decided to leave the Marine Corps. Combat was tough, wasn't going to be the life for us. And we really wanted to pursue healing and a different family environment. So we actually moved from North Carolina to Boston. My husband went back to school. And so we thought that's a great time to have a third baby. Let's do that.
Always
So
right when you have another major life transition. That's the time to
always,
have a
that's
baby.
how you do it. We joke that we just dot the East Coast with babies. That's how we mark our territory. We moved, let's have a baby, let's have another baby.
Of
So,
course.
this baby, my third baby, was the only one I didn't find the gender. I
Mm.
just, something changed in me, and I'll tell you what, I knew it was a daughter. I don't know, God didn't tell me that. I knew I was having a daughter. And not only that, I had this overwhelming craving to be creative. And I'm a poet, I'm a singer, but I'm not like pen to paper, paints to
Mm.
canvas creative. But with that pregnancy, so much so. And don't you know, gave birth to a daughter in our living room. It was beautiful. And she's now 13, and she is the most wildly, magically creative artist I've ever known. And
That is
it was
so cool.
from the womb. It's who she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were like
But
channeling that. Like that was her
yes,
coming through you.
yes,
Did you have
yes.
a awareness of that, or were you just like, "Oh, I just want to paint today."
I
Like
didn't have an awareness, but it was like in me. It's just
Yeah.
it was in me. I couldn't make sense of it, but it was happening, and I had to either cooperate with it or not. And that
Do
was
you
my
have
daughter.
artwork from that time that you did?
So much. Yeah, it's not great, but I do. I was big into Pinterest art, so
That is so cool. And what a cool concept that like you can experience those giftings that God has given your children while you're pregnant with them. I can
Yes,
honestly say I've never heard that before, but I can completely see how that would be possible.
yes, yeah. It's wild. Yeah, I know.
And she's your
Eh,
only daughter, so she's got to be like the
She,
creative fire, like stand up
yes,
for herself, kind of go with four brothers.
yes. Five brothers. She's like a
Five,
Viking
six.
fairy. She's just amazing. Yeah.
I love
But
it.
with her birth, hers was the first time that I pooped in the bath, and I was on my hands and knees, and I was very upset that no one was getting the baby out of the water. I'm saying, get her, get her. And they like, sweetheart, you just pooped. Oh, okay, great. Well, that's awesome.
You thought it was the
I
baby?
thought I just delivered a baby.
That must
No,
have been a big poop.
and super humiliating. But I will say this too
Wow.
for my credit to my amazing midwives in Boston. To this day, I still don't know what was wrong, what was happening in my labor, but I was stuck. Now, I knew none of this. This was my experience. Maybe 6 hours in or so, in the loveliest voices, they said, you know what? Let's get on the bed. We're going to massage your hips. And I'm thinking, that's so nice of you. Thank you so much. And they're positioning me a very strategic way. And I'm thinking, I feel so cared for. And they're giving me a lovely massage. And my husband's holding my hands and stroking my hair. And it's so lovely. And then at a certain point, my water breaks. And they said, okay, we're done now. It wasn't until later I realized something was happening. And they knew I'd be a little nervous. And so they just took care of it. And we moved
Wow.
on and had a baby. But I really appreciate that because in that time in my life, I couldn't have handled what would have felt like a mental stressor. And so that was great. I had a lovely
Yeah.
birth. Lovely. Loved it.
Midwives know how to care for women and
Amazing.
not bring trauma and fear into an environment even when things are a little off.
Yes.
and some assistance is needed, they just do it so covertly. Like, all right,
It's,
we're gonna massage, we're
yeah.
gonna do this, I'm just gonna help rub, stimulate baby a little bit. Like, you'd never know that they're like preventing some emergency because they're so
Yes.
calm and they've seen it 100 times and they're like, no, we're good, we got
Yes.
this.
Yeah. And it spares you as the mother all of that emotional distress during and
Yeah.
after. I mean, my only memory is of a lovely birth.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Because
else.
I know if my midwife is not stressed out, I don't need to be stressed out.
Yes. Yes.
Like, she's
Yes.
seen it all. She's been to 1,000 births. If she's not
Yes.
worried and anxious, I don't need to be.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
good. What was your next one like?
Okay, so the next is my fourth. So we moved again. So we moved to Philadelphia. So perfect time to have another baby. But this was the first time that it was unexpected. So number four was unexpected. And when I found out, at this point, I had three under three. I threw my head out our tiny city house window into the rain and just cried because I just thought, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do another baby. I'm so tired. It's getting real now. The kids can move, they eat, they have free will, and it's like,
Oh, yeah,
this is a
it's like
lot.
when they're toddlers, that's when you lose your mind.
Yes, yes. So I was there. I had lost my
With
mind.
three. Oh,
Yes.
and now you're finding out you're pregnant with your fourth. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was the one that kind of broke me, but then it built me back up.
Mm.
And so for this one, we found a wonderful birth center in Philly that was a home. I always say it was a home birth, just not my house. A lovely home, three bedrooms and a kitchen, 15 minutes from the house. Wonderful. And so for this one, my husband and I were in a place in our marriage where we were walking in as a team, and we
Mm.
practiced mindfulness and meditation a lot together. So my fourth birth at the birth center was just he and I, forehead to forehead, swaying through contractions. And before each wave would arrive, I would have a new word that would come into my mind that we would say out loud together. So it was like, I remember calm, joy, peace, love. And right before the contraction began, it would come into my head. I'd say, joy. And he'd put his forehead against mine, and we'd rock like we're dancing, and we would just take a deep breath in and say the word joy like a mantra till the wave was over. And that was that. It was it was so magical to just have that private time with just my husband. And so he was
Mm.
born. I was trying to make my way to the tub, didn't make it. So he was born next to the toilet. But it was the first time I experienced fetal ejection.
Wow. Yeah, by the fourth, your body's like, yep, let's get this baby
We
out.
are just like
Boom.
good to go. and I
It's
remember
probably that
thinking,
walking to the tub too, like upright
yes,
positions. Your body's like, oh,
yes.
you're standing up. This baby comes down.
Yes. And I realized, like, wait a minute, why was I pushing before? This is awesome. I can endure the contractions if this happens that quickly. Like, just whoop, here comes a baby. So something was
Like,
starting
you mean
to
I can skip that whole phase of labor?
Yes.
Sign me up.
Yes, sign me up. That was it. Like, all right, new strategy here. But I was also never going to have another baby. So it was just going to be in theory for someone else. Like, I'm done.
Mm.
But of
What would you
course,
say to other women who are in that same situation you were in? They're struggling with little ones, they're overwhelmed, they're feeling like they can barely stay afloat, and then they find out they're pregnant and it's not planned or expected.
I know it makes me so emotional. Um, that it's a gift, and it will be the blessing you didn't know your family needed. 100%. And that you are strong enough. And you become strong enough because, when you have your first few kids, you're still trying to prove that you can do it all as a mother. It's so disgusting. Like, we can do
Mm.
it all and be it all and cook the great meals, and the kids are always clean. But by your third or fourth, you're broken. And I feel like that's the gift. You
Mm.
realize you can't do it alone, and you need to start learning to ask for help. You need a community. You need to swallow your pride, or if it's taboo to say, I'm struggling, I need help, you must overcome that because you can't do it alone. That for
Mm.
me was the gift of my fourth when I
Oh, wow.
realized I need a team. I need a
Yeah.
team. And my husband needs a team. He can't be, he's our income earner. He can't be the income earner and the domestic help and my free therapy and the kids' fun play date all the time. That's too much for one person. It's too much
Mm,
for two people. You need a community.
yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. The brokenness is the gift.
Yes, it is.
So beautifully said. What happened next? How did you
I know.
manage to like pull all of yourself together now
I
to have
I
four
I
kids and
don't
then a fifth?
I don't think I did. I didn't.
I have questions.
I know. I do too.
Only God knows the answer to some of these.
Yes, yes. I mean, it was very difficult. Like I do not want to paint an inaccurate picture. It was very difficult, and we didn't have the resources to get help. When I say help, like we weren't hiring babysitters or house cleaners or cooks. There was zero pennies
Yeah.
left for anything else, and so it was. How do we get creative to get help? Because Mama's tanking, and
Mm,
I don't know how to do this. So, we have a church. We lived in a wonderful, loving city where we found support in our lovely city block with the kids that go to school and after high school would come sit and play with my kids. And we
oh,
just, there was
yeah.
always a way provided. And that was a gift too. If I had had the financial resources, it would have been a cheap shortcut to my growth.
Mm,
I would have just thrown money at my suffering and I
mm,
would have never had the opportunity to learn who I am and what I'm capable of. But because we had that really hard built in limitation of no extra money and we're it, we're trying to figure this
you
out.
have to get
We,
resourceful.
yes, we have to get resourceful and we get to see God show up. And
Mm,
I would always ask God, please give me a gift to sustain me. Give me a gift to sustain me. And I remember one in particular, right after my fourth was born, and I was about to pull my hair out in our little teeny tiny house. And I went upstairs and I just said, God, I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't do it. I need to get away. I need quiet. I need to get out of this house. I need to get away from the kids. Ding dong, my doorbell rings. I'm wiping my tears, going down to the door. The UPS man is there, and there's a package for me. And I open it up, and it's a picture book from a friend, a dear friend that I know in town. And it says, basically, I really admire your family. I admire what you're doing as a mother. I'd like to gift you a weekend away. Here's the resort, and we'll watch your kids. And
what?
I just thought,
What? And they watch your
literally,
kids.
yes, that was the
You
best
and
part.
your like I was thinking just you or you and your husband, like they're sending
Me
you
and my
both.
husband, they sent us
Oh my
away. They
gosh.
watched our kids, including my little
Wow.
baby. And, but it's things like that where you ask, this is God's thing. He came up with the idea of parents and kids. He's going to support the mission. He's going to
Yeah.
support it.
I
We
love
ask
that.
for the support. And that it's
Yeah.
not like a wish list of I just wish I had the nicest or the best or whatever. It's I need support for this job. And then he gives it. So I guess
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
Oh, I love that story. So, how did you go from that to having child number 5?
I know. So then well, we moved again.
Like clockwork.
Yeah, see, like we move, have a baby, and again, this one was not very planned, and we get all the jokes, and it's ridiculous, but it was just we had another baby,
You know
and
where those come from, right?
there no, get a hobby,
Don't you
and
love those
so
comments?
it's so insufferable, and it's always from men. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Like, do better, do better.
Yeah. But, this is the one, my fifth baby is what led me to you, Karen. My
Mm,
fifth baby really, it was difficult. The pregnancy just felt off and I felt scared. I started feeling this self doubt and I didn't know where it was coming from. But towards the end, and I always go 42 weeks. So I just know that's my jam.
really?
Yes. And towards the end, I was feeling like a caged animal.
Mm,
I would hole up in my room. my wonderful husband would take all the kids, walk them down to the park, and I was just kind of going crazy a little. And there was this little fear, niggling fear, and I didn't know what it was. Went back to the same birth center, and it was the first time that we got there, and within 5 minutes, the first time ever in all my births, I thought, I can't do this.
Mm.
And my midwives looked at me, and I said, I can't do this. And they said, well, let's write out another contraction. And we did. And I looked at my husband and I said, I need help. I can't do this. I need medicine.
Mm.
I think I need an epidural. And I became the stereotypical woman in a wheelchair being raced across the street to the hospital, screaming in fear, I can't do this. I need help. I need help. We get up to the delivery room, and the wonderful midwife looks at me and says, sweetheart, it's time to push. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm just getting going. Something's wrong. I can't get on top of this. And I get a long time to go because I have long labors. Something's wrong. And she says, it's time to push. And my brain
Wow.
like glitched out. I couldn't figure out, like, wait, what is happening? I really can't do that.
Can't wrap my
And
brain around this.
no.
How
And I
long
looked
had
at,
that been since labor started?
well, I would have said it had been just about an hour since we arrived at the birth center. And then in a minute, I'll share how your trauma healing course helped me understand what really happened. And so with this one, I looked at my husband in this moment. You talk about like the pep talk, God's pep talk for your next season of life you don't know you're about to enter. This was that moment. I looked at my husband and I said, I'm so scared. And he said, you
Mm.
can do this. And he prayed, and I let out an otherworldly scream while this baby was being born. It was, like feral. And
Wow.
all I remember is my husband screaming with me, but he had to take 3 breaths for my one push. And then we had our baby. And then I'm in shock. And now we're in a hospital. And so I ended up staying in the hospital alone with my baby for 2 days, which was amazing. I ate pies, like whole pies. I had someone that could, like, I could press a button and someone could come give me things. This is amazing. Like, wow. And so,
You're like, I'm taking full advantage of these hospital services.
oh, and
One
I
other
was
pie,
alone.
please. Another pie.
It was another pie, please, a fruit pie this time. And my husband would come and have dinner with me, and we'd, bond, and then he'd go home to the kids. And it was
So did
nothing.
you really just need a vacation from your four
I know.
kids?
I'm right.
If you see
Well,
those memes that are like, I planned a vacation from my kids and we ended up, in the hospital
oh,
having our quote unquote vacation,
yes,
having a baby.
exactly right.
I'm like,
I
you
mean,
planned this, Tommy. No,
yeah. I
I
mean,
know you
it's
did.
amazing. It's so well crafted. I wish I had because it really worked to my favor. And I had those 2 days to kind of regroup. And
Mm,
then I was ushered into the darkest season of my life where my
mm.
dearest friends and my 5-year-old's best friend was killed, was struck by lightning.
Oh
And
no.
this was like, he was like a son to us. It was so tragic. And so here I am with this new baby, a fourth son, and my dear friend just lost her only son.
Oh
And we're moving in a week again. And so it was too much. I couldn't. I,
yeah,
I fell into depression. The first
yeah.
time I experienced postpartum depression. So my fifth baby was the one that shook my confidence.
Mm,
Screaming for epidural, screaming for. I would have taken street meds from a back alley if they had offered it. I did not care. I needed something. And then postpartum depression, and I just couldn't get my pep back. I was broken. And then I
mm,
started having panic attacks. And we moved to Georgia from the north, and I don't know anyone, and
yeah.
I'm homeschooling, and it was piling on.
Mm,
And so that's when I said, I am really done. I will die if I ever have another baby. I cannot. And it wasn't a discussion with God, and it wasn't a discussion with my husband. It was me. And I said, I'm done.
mhm.
And so
Yeah.
I was done for 6 years. And I built my life back, and I got help. And I started to feel like me again by year 6. And we finally found our forever home and we're settled. And it felt like finally life is, we have roots. Our kids are established. My body works as a unit again. I feel like a human. Like, this is
Mm.
great. And one day we had friends visiting, and she asked my husband just in passing, would you ever want more kids? And with an expression I've never seen on him before, he said, I would take all the kids we could get. And this is
Oh.
my husband who like works so hard to provide for our big fat family. That's a lot. And in
Yeah.
that moment I realized he's the other half of this equation, and I've never asked him. I just told him what I want and what I'm doing. And it took root somewhere, but not enough to do anything with it because I'm done. And a week later, I was walking, I was in my, this is my bedroom. I was literally standing right there doing laundry, and I heard God's voice for the second time. And he said, it shook me to the core. And he just said, are you willing to hold loosely your well laid plans for your life? And I knew instantly that he meant a baby. How? I don't know. He didn't say baby, but I knew somewhere in those past 6 years, I had turned in fear from him and what might be a blessing to ordain the life that's going to work for me. And when he asked me that, I did this. It's like, wow, I'm in my 40s. I don't, but then I started remembering in my 20s that God had said that as well, that I'd have
Mm.
babies in my 40s. So we conceived a week later.
Wow.
And I told my husband on his 42nd birthday. I surprised him and the kids on his 42nd birthday that we're having a baby. And he said, a real one? Like he couldn't be like, what is that? And my teen boys were kind of like, oh, what? Like, what is happening? And my daughter asked if I laid an egg, and I realized I have failed her. I haven't taught about reproductive health. so, so
Okay, we need to have some conversations. Family meeting.
I know. Oh, it's
Let
so
me set the
great.
record
Yes.
straight. Wow. I
Oh,
want to jump back quickly
yeah,
to your recovery from your
yeah,
fifth. And
yeah,
I think that there's probably so many moms listening who are in a similar situation where life feels unbearable and overwhelming. And I would just love to have you speak to them from that, from knowing what it's like to be in that place, that pit of despair, and go through
yeah,
that dark night of the soul where you feel
yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm at my wit's end. What would you say to those
yes,
moms?
yes, yes. Well, there is hope. That's the first thing I would say. There's always hope. And the second thing I would say is that God created our bodies and our brains. They are miracles. And so healing is more than possible. It is the way. And healing can look like a lot of different things, but I'll just share the things that have helped me. I really dug in on mindfulness and meditation to help calm my body, quiet my nervous system. And that really did a lot. Parenting is hard. Whether you have one kid or 200 kids, it's hard. And if you're dysregulated, if your nervous system is a hot mess, your whole home is a hot mess. And so
Yes.
if you can just learn to take deep breaths and speak in a quieter tone, or say, you know what, I need to step away. There's nothing so urgent that you can't wait. And that will help a lot to just create a different foundation. Sometimes that's not quite enough. I needed more help. So I have a wonderful therapist, and I could not encourage mothers, especially, to explore inner child work. So, inner family systems and inner child work has helped me tremendously. And I don't think I'm alone. I mean, statistically, I'm not alone. It's a very, very common problem. And I think becoming a mother has a special way of bringing all that to the surface, but that it's not bad. It's good. It's
Yeah.
revealing what's already there so that you can heal. And what I have found is that a lot of the things that were so overwhelming and distressing to me really weren't about the circumstances I thought it was. It wasn't about my children or my lack of space or I'm not sleeping. That was part of it. But for me, it was really pointing back to something much earlier in my life that I hadn't ever had the privilege to heal from. And so it was just stuck. If you read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, this gets stuck in our bodies. And it can show up in birth, it can show up in parenting, it can show up in the middle of the night when you wake up with a pounding heart and you don't know why. And so we just tend to say,
Yeah.
oh, motherhood's hard. It's more than that. There's healing to be had. And so I would say if you are, and listen, if you have kids, it's tempting. You want to pretend you have it all together because you signed up to have kids. So you got to look like you know what you're doing. We don't. No one does. It's an illusion. So we just got to get past that and then be able to say, I'm not okay. I need
Yeah.
help. And you keep knocking on doors until you find the help, period.
Yeah. I think it's so important to normalize this for moms today because our society is so isolated. Moms are so isolated. We don't live in community. The way you did with your first is an unusual experience. And
Yes.
certainly with moving all the time, with all of the things you had going on in your life, the trauma you were carrying, the emotional anxiety and everything. It's like I could just feel the energy of that. And I
Yes.
know so many other moms are living in that place and they don't know why. And we can sometimes only see what's right around us. And we think it's my kids and I need a break, or it's my marriage, we're going through this, or we don't have enough money. Like we see the like visible problems without going deeper. And how insightful I love hearing your story because it shows you that there's always more layers. And it can be
Yes.
so easy to just put a band-aid on the problem and think, oh, if we just had more money it would fix it. Oh, if I just did this it would fix it. But doing the deep work and the inner healing, the inner child work, and I can totally agree with you here, it's like we don't realize we're responding to our present situation in a way that we were conditioned to respond as children, because
Yes.
those programs subconsciously are still at play. and
Yes.
and sometimes God allows things to happen in our life, not that he intends them, pain or suffering, but he uses everything, just like he used this fifth birth for you going through this dark time to bring a deeper sense of healing. And
Yes.
without that you may not have ever found that healing.
Yes. Absolutely. That's so well put. That's really it. And it gives you build your courage and you build your faith. And parents in this current world need courage and need faith. We need that. We
Yeah.
need to be raising families under that umbrella of courage and faith, doing the hard things, having the moral courage, having the physical courage. And healing does that. I often thought about when Jesus asked the paralytic, with the mat, do you want to get well? And I used to think, what a dumb question. Like, of course he wants to get well, until I was confronted with that question. Do I want to get well? And you know what? For a while, I didn't, because it was easier just to blame it on those circumstantial things. Like, I'm so tired. There's so many dirty dishes. I
Yeah.
have so much laundry. Homeschooling so overwhelming. That's not what I needed healing from. And
Mm,
so when I finally was able to, muster the courage and faith to say, yes, God, I want to be well. I want to go into the not knowing, and I want to be whole. And that's really what led to this sixth birth. And
mm,
the theme song for me was that I know everyone knows the Hillsong Oceans. It's just like a
yeah.
mantra. It says, that is it. Like, expand the borders. I'm ready to go where I have no clue what's going to happen. Let's
Yes.
do it.
Those I know. I'm just thinking through the lyrics, like where
Oh,
feet cannot stand, and you're
yes,
just trust. Like it's such a great
yes,
song.
yes.
Oh, so and I can see where you are now and the healing and the transformation that you've been through and how evident that is and just the mantle you carry. This is a woman of grace and of God to walk this out, and I just really sense that you have such an important message for the younger generation, for those of us who, I shouldn't say us because I'm not having any more babies right now, unless God calls me to, like He did you. but but for those women who are having babies now and wanting to raise them in Christ and with a godly heart and to be the mother that God has called them to be, I just see you as such an example of that. So tell us the rest of the story. How did God pull you out of that darkness to
I
have a
know.
sixth baby?
I know. I mean, it was a very slow, very laborious process of re like rewiring my brain. If I'm being honest, it was learning all the ways that I think as a mother that are toxic, that would
Mm.
just keep me stuck. And so practically that looked like I was on a phone-based support group. And there were these worksheets I could work through. So anytime I felt a strain or a physical sensation or I'm overwhelmed, I could train my brain to think about it a different way. And it really looks like, when God says you can guide yourself into all joy, you can learn to guide yourself into viewing your world in a different light. It does not have to be negative and doom and gloom. You really can't find joy in all of it. Not in a la la, like, head in the sand way, but in a very convicted, solid, full of integrity way. You can guide yourself into a different way of feeling and thinking and being and acting. So I had a wonderful mentor who helped me do that. But I will say also, it did help to have some stability. I mean, I'm not going to, that's important. It's really nice to have some physical stability. We're not moving anymore. We had a little more resources. I could get some more help, and that did help. Um, but that was the slow process of finding myself again. Not even finding myself, but becoming more of the person God designed me to be. A person
Mm.
that's not a helpless victim, someone who's powerful and has options. And so this sixth baby, really, that was the theme for me. I am powerful and I have options. And the first option I took was finding you. Because I knew this last birth, that fifth birth did me in. I didn't trust myself anymore. I
Mm.
felt like my body betrayed me. And
Wow.
so, how could I ever do that? How could I ever be that vulnerable again in birth when I can't even trust what my body's doing? And I don't know how to guide myself through that. And so, your healing birth trauma course, I would sit in my bathtub, 9 months of this. And I would call it my nightly brainwashing, where I would watch every video I could find, read every testimony from Instagram, from your site, and I'd work through that course. And it was
Wow.
I was able to first of all, I had to forgive myself, and I didn't even know that. I thought
Yeah.
I failed. And I have
Hmm.
such compassion
So
for
many
mothers.
moms think
Oh,
that they
who
failed when their birth doesn't go according to plan.
yes. I
Oh,
mean, what a terrible misplaced burden to have to carry that you
yeah.
failed. You produced life. You
Yes,
I
Tommy.
God,
Yes.
gosh. And so that was
Wow.
really important for me. And Karen, what you helped me understand in that my fifth birth was I had it all wrong. I was scared because I thought I was just getting into labor and ain't no way I was going to be able to do 7, 10 hours of whatever this is. I can't do this. I didn't know I was at the end.
Yeah.
If if someone had known enough, and I'm definitely not faulting anyone because this was all new for us, but if I had had one voice or my own voice to say, "You're almost done.
Mm.
You can do this. You are doing it," or "This isn't stronger than you. This is you. You're in the home
Yeah.
stretch." I would have stayed in that wonderful birth center and had my baby in 45 minutes. But I
Yeah.
just didn't understand. And so your course really helped me understand that. And then I just, my dialogue with myself is kind of like, I'm so sorry. I put so
Yeah.
much on you. I'm so sorry I did that. You were working so hard and you did everything right and I got in the way. I'm so sorry. Let's see if we
You
can
were
do
like
this.
speaking that over your body.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I
And
love
telling this
it.
baby, we're gonna do this different. We're gonna be a
Yes.
team. I'm gonna follow your lead. We're gonna do this. I mean, it changed everything.
Oh, so yeah, so much of that course is healing the relationship between us and our bodies, because there's a
Yes,
break that happens with a birth, an experience like that. Like you said, I didn't trust myself anymore. Felt my body failed me. There's a disconnect, and we have to
yes,
repair that before we
yes.
can walk into another labor and expect our body to function perfectly if we don't even trust ourselves.
Yes, yes. And again, broken record, but I believe there's no greater pep talk than that to walk through life, than to know that I can be so connected to my body and to God and creation that I'll walk
Yeah.
through anything. There's
Oh.
nothing I won't be able to walk through if I'm connected to God, creation, and my body. That's it.
Mm. I love that you went on this journey after having 5
Yeah.
babies, because most moms would be like, "Well, I got it down." I mean, that maybe like that
Yeah.
one threw me for a ringer, but I'm going to have this other one. But no, you were a student. You said,
A student.
I have more to learn." Yeah,
Yes.
like you really dove in cuz you knew what birth could be, and you knew that you didn't want to repeat the fear and the trauma of
Right.
the fifth one.
Right. I
Yeah.
really came into this birth telling myself, all right, you know nothing, let's start over. Blank slate. I went through everything. Like I
Mm.
retaught myself anatomy. I watched, I relearned the birth process. What are the stages of labor? Like I never knew a thing.
Yeah.
I wanted a
Like you had to
blank slate.
convince yourself again, it all
Yes.
works. My body
Yes.
works. This process works. But I
Yes.
love that
Yes.
you were intentional about it. Like a lot of us have to do that for our first, and you did it after your fifth. And you were
Yes.
intentional about that because you knew, like, I have to convince myself, I have to be bought in that this can
Yes.
happen, that this is
Yes.
possible.
Yes. And it's my first birth where my children are old enough to know and watch. And I
Mm,
really felt like this is my legacy. I want,
wow.
they were so young. I mean, they may have memories, but not like this, not when you're teenagers and you're watching your mom and your dad walk through this. And I felt really strongly about that, that this is, they're going to see what birth is, that God
Were
created
they all
this.
there for the
Yes,
sixth baby?
they're there or right out. Some of the boys waited till the baby was born, but they were all there for all. And I
Yeah.
had the birthing tub in the bedroom for months. And it became our life for,
What was that like, having your whole family there witness your sixth birth?
I have a video of it on my Instagram. It it was like, and my mom was there, and the way I described it was like it was like coming home. It was a homecoming. There was
Mm.
so much laughter. He was born. I played the song Oceans. When it was time, there was no pain, no fear, no nothing. It was a really quick labor. I danced through it. As soon as it was, I was like, "Here he comes!" Wait, let me just put the right song on because I was like DJ. All right, so I put Oceans on, and I get in the tub, and he's just born right away, right as it says, "You've not failed yet, and you haven't failed, and you won't start now. So I will praise your name on high." And here he comes, like out of the water.
Woo!
And it's
Goosebumps.
amazing. And my husband just starts yelling his name. My baby's Jack. He starts yelling, "Jack, Jack, you're here, buddy. You're here, Jack." And
Oh,
everyone's laughing. And it's like, it's a homecoming. The baby that
wow.
God knew we needed to usher
And
in
you're all his
finally made
siblings
it.
and your mom cheering his
Yeah,
arrival.
it was beautiful.
Amazing. And it wasn't, there was no pain?
Zero pain. I, I would not believe that if I had not experienced it.
This was
I
this
did
your
not believe
first
it.
birth, your first
Yes.
pain-free birth?
First pain-free birth.
So what did you think about pain-free birth before that? Were you like, well, that's just a nice notion, but
I was
that's
like,
not
that's
real?
cute. That's cute. We'll chase that dream, but like maybe
Okay,
it won't be
honey,
as
you're cute.
I mean, I really, really, really didn't believe it, but I was really trying to brainwash myself that I don't know. We'll see what happens. I I don't, how do you even describe that? No pain, no pain. Like,
Wow. So you're
no pain.
six, baby. No, first pain-free birth.
First
How
pain
would
free.
you describe it? To try.
it, it's my wonderful midwife. She said afterwards, she's like, been doing this a long time. I've never seen that. I would have never believed that birth could be pain free until you. And I know I'm
Wow.
not the exception because this is what you teach and this is what women everywhere experience. And I would just keep thinking, pressure and pain are different. And
Yes.
there's no pain. And when you know how to cooperate with the pressure of your baby arriving from heaven through your body, there's no pain. It blows my mind.
I love hearing stories, especially from seasoned mothers who have had babies. And I interviewed another woman who shared a similar story that she had like 4 home births. And it wasn't until she took the pain free birth course that then she realized, several of them actually, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I was creating so much pain
Yes.
for myself just by the way I was breathing or by the tension or the thoughts I was
Yes.
thinking. And when it clicks, and then
Yes.
you actually experience it, it's like, oh, this is so different than all my other births. And not that there was anything to downplay those other births, they are all equally valuable,
Yes.
but I just love that there is such a stark difference that
Oh,
especially women like you have experienced 5 babies and then you had a pain-free one. And how did
yes.
that change for you?
Well, I'm very vocal now. I before I was kind of quiet about birth, and I just thought like, well, to each his own.
Yeah,
You don't get
like
a
it works for
trophy for how you.
some. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But now I'm like, no, everyone needs to know. The next generation needs to know. It's so much bigger than birth. This is like how you become who you're designed to be. This is, if you're robbed of that experience, whatever it looks like, your hospital, whatever, you're, like you're designed for this, and it's your starting line pep talk for the rest of your life. And whatever God has for you, you have the God-given strength to do it, and you just proved it. You just did
Mm.
that. It's so I'm very vocal. And as I've walked through difficult things since then, it's been a hard season. I always go back to this birth of, I know it's possible. I know what God can do, and I know what I can do when I stay connected to Him. It's the ultimate reminder for me. And I bought this sword necklace for myself with my 6th pregnancy, just as a reminder of, I'm strong. God made me strong. I can do hard things, and naturally the way I'm designed to. And I think about that birth. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so
Mm.
grateful my kids got to see it. It's changed my faith. It really has
Wow.
changed a lot about a lot.
What would you say to people who will criticize the idea of a pain-free birth and say, "Oh, you're just getting women's hopes up.
I know.
It's not really possible, or it's you're just setting yourself up for disappointment."
I know. I mean, I would say I'm living proof. I mean, I might be in that camp if I hadn't experienced it either. But I would probably more so say this. What a disservice we're doing to families everywhere, where we approach birth with doom and gloom cautionary tale horror stories. What a
Hmm.
disservice. Why aren't we doing that? But what if it is possible? Instead of this doubting, snarky, critical spirit, what if we cheered on mothers and families that, you know what? Maybe, just maybe it is possible. And I'm going to be the loudest cheerleader for you. Why don't we do
Oh.
that?
And it's such a interesting thing because I look at your fifth birth and people will say like they go through such hard things and I know God uses them, but they almost they we do this thing as Christians where we say, "Oh, well, God allowed this or then this happened," as if the bad things are like God's will.
Yeah.
And 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 then they go, "Oh, and I had to learn." XYZ. I had to go through that so it made me stronger. And so, this was important. And if it was just a pain-free birth, then I wouldn't have gotten, what I needed. And there
Yeah.
is a reality that birth is a reflection. It's a mirror to what we need. There's a growth journey. But I listened to your story going through the trauma of baby number 5, the birth, and how you had to dig yourself out of that for 6 years, and the brokenness you experienced. And no doubt God made you stronger in that. But we
Yeah.
shouldn't have to recover from birth. We shouldn't
Yes.
have to pick up the shattered pieces of our soul in order to become like normal again. Birth should be
Yes.
something that like launches us into our calling, launches us into our
Yes.
motherhood journey, something that propels us forward, that we get the momentum to go, wow, I am, like exactly like you just said, I am so powerful. I just did that. I shouldn't have to heal from birth. And tragically, that's the reality for so
Yeah.
many women. And yet when you experience a supernatural, a pain-free, an ecstatic birth, whatever it is, and to me, the pain-free part is like the cherry on top. Like, yes,
Yeah.
it's possible. How good can it be? But that's the whole journey, is what catapults us into our calling and our destiny as mothers, and gives us the strength, rather than having to claw our way up from the
Yes.
the cave, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you're
Absolutely.
living proof of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. It's
Tommy,
amazing. It's such an important message.
yeah, and I just hearing all of your births, and no doubt each one was unique. And I love that you got that experience. And I love that your whole family got that
Yeah.
experience. Like, it wasn't just for you.
Yeah.
Your kids are never going to forget that.
Yeah. And my wonderful husband, who is so supportive, he'll often say, I've never seen you that strong.
Tommy, I could talk to you all day about birth and motherhood. And I probably need to have you back on the show to talk more about motherhood, because I have a feeling there is so much wisdom in you from birthing and raising 6 children, some of them teenagers now, that so many of us women need to hear, who are in the trenches raising littles and all ages of kids. And so I just want to thank you so much for your time today. And I pray that this message reaches countless young women who are preparing for birth, who are healing from a previous birth that was traumatic, who just need a mother to say, I believe in you, and you are not broken, and you can do this. You can give birth, and it can be beautiful and ecstatic. And so thank you for your story. Thank you for sharing it on this podcast. And if for those of you listening, if this impacted you in any way, please share it with your friends, share it with your pregnant mom friends, and spread the word, because we want the world to know we are dismantling the lie that birth has to be painful, and we are declaring that women are born for this. We are made for this. So if you want to learn more about Tommi, you can find her at Tommi_Kirkpatrick on Instagram. Be sure to reach out to her, and make sure to leave a 5-star review if you were blessed by this episode.